I'm in Korea. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm in Korea because Jamie was getting jaw surgery and I decided to tag along to help her out and like support her. And you guys can ask her about it, but I'm really glad I came because I don't know how she would have done anything by herself. Life's been kind of rough for Jamie, honestly. So please like send her a lot of like speedy recovery soon messages. I look super janky because, well, first of all, I'm streaming. Sorry, I'm gonna whack the mic a lot because I'm just like not used to having the mic below me. I feel like I'm having this like Skype call with you guys or like a Zoom meeting call. The mic is probably really janky too. The camera's janky, the mic is janky, everything is janky. I don't have my alerts set up because it's just so much and I'm so lazy. We have to move Airbnbs later because basically on our way to the Airbnb, there's like, the hill is like this. It's like a 45-degree angle, legit. And there's like 4 of them. And it takes about like 7 minutes-ish to climb up all those hills. And it's just, there's that. And then there's staircases to the entryway of our Airbnb. Okay? And then we get to the entrance and then we have to go up 3 flights of stairs. So it's painful. It's really painful for someone who walked 0 steps normally to walk that much is a pain. Anyway, we've been in Korea since, okay, so March 29th was when we left. And then Jamie and I were in quarantine for 2 weeks. Dude, that was an interesting experience. All I did was play Maple Royals the entire time. My quarantine meals, let's say some were edible and some were not. I can't even describe to you some of the stuff I ate. Cause like I've had bad cooking, but like even bad cooking is like edible. There was just like some stuff they gave me that was, I refuse to believe is made from actual food. But I mean, it was a meal. COVID is regulated really well here. Dude, oh my god, I feel like a lot of like traveling to a certain country is kind of like glorified right now. I feel like it's kind of painful to be a foreigner in Korea. Because basically what they do is they've regulated every store and restaurant requires, well, they do temperature checks as soon as you go in with a camera. So they identify you, they take a picture, and they regulate your temperature immediately with like a machine. And anywhere you go, they've got like a scanner, they've got everything, okay? Some places require your identity because you're gonna be in there like longer. So most people in Korea have like a QR code that's like your identity. So you scan that and that's like your check-in system. If you don't have that, which like obviously Jamie and I don't, you have to write your like contact number. And in the beginning, Jamie nor I, neither of us had a phone number. We recently got SIM cards, so we have phone numbers now. But before we didn't have phone numbers. So we had no way to like write contacts. So we'd have to write like Jamie wrote her like interpreter's contact or her hospitals, and I would write like my grandma's or something. But you have to do that like everywhere you go if you can't like scan it. But now we have numbers, but we still have to write it down. So we still have to like write our own numbers down. But yeah, what it's for is like if it turns out you had COVID or somebody else had COVID, it's to like immediately contact you that somebody there had COVID. You need like a social security number to do everything and anything here. And that's been our biggest struggle. It's just like we can't do anything because we're not citizens. But it's been okay. I was born in Korea, but I got my US citizenship. And if you get your US citizenship, you have to like forfeit your Korean one. So I had to forfeit my Korean one to get my US citizenship. No, we weren't allowed to we weren't allowed to order food to our hotel. We were allowed to order packaged food, and Jamie ordered me and her drinks. Because I said one day I'm craving juice and she was craving cola or Pepsi or whatever. She ended up ordering us liter bottles of juice and Pepsi. She showed me the picture. She's like, doesn't it look small? And I was like, no, it doesn't look small at all. But she thought they were like, you know, these size ones. I don't know. How many ounces is this size? Anyway, she ended up ordering us like Costco packs. snacks, and she ordered me 6 liters of not orange juice, which is the one I wanted, by the way, but she ordered me tangerine juice. She ordered me 6 liters of tangerine juice. Okay, so Jamie bought me 4 basically liters of orange juice because she thought the bottle looked small in the pictures. Not only did she buy me 4 liters, she bought me not orange juice, but tangerine juice. Okay, so this is what you guys see, but I went through a horror story with my hair. I actually got my hair dyed before Jamie was hospitalized. So before Jamie was hospitalized, I got my hair dyed. It was probably the worst experience I've ever had with a hair dye. I looked like a freaking Furby, and it wasn't even like intentional. I just looked like a Furby, and I cried. Okay, so first of all, I don't normally cry over hair. Hair is hair. I'm like whatever about it. Hair grows. But I don't know if you guys remember, but I said like my mental health is crap. I can't work on my mental health, so I'm gonna work on my hair. So I spent all of quarantine literally nurturing my hair to life from like the bleach damages from before, and my hair was great. Like it was in great condition. I had like no broken ends. Anyway, I did all of that, and then I come out of the salon. It wasn't even like the things they were using, it was just like the way they were handling my hair. They were like ripping at my hair, breaking my hair apart, and then they would just like bleach, and the bleach would like bleed onto my ends, and then my ends would break. So basically I just ended up losing like a lot of my hair that day. I'll show you guys this picture. I can't even believe I'm okay with showing the public this because it's like so ridiculous that I guess I don't mind. You guys see that? Do you guys see where there's like a stripe in my hair? That wasn't even intentional. Do you see that? Anyway, they dyed my hair like this. So I like not only lost hair, but I was walking around looking like a freaking Furby. And so I cried. I didn't cry at the salon because I hate like showing people that I'm like unhappy. So I left the salon. And then when I saw Mindy and Jamie, I started bawling. And I've never in my entire life have I cried about my hair. Ever in my life have I ever cried about my hair. But I cried. And then Mindy fixed it. Mindy fixed my hair. So this is my hair now because Mindy fixed it, and Mindy is magical. And she revived my hair, fixed everything, gave me everything, gave me a new life, gave me a new identity. And I no longer was Furby. So yeah. Sorry, I hear Jamie. I think she's trying to sleep. So I might talk a little quieter. I think she's snoring. Can you guys hear me when I talk like that? Huh? Are you sure?
Yeah, I can fall asleep to your voice.
Okay. What's the best food in Korea? Meat. Sorry if I offended any vegans or vegetarians or pescatarians, but their meat is so good. Before Jamie's surgery, we made sure that Jamie could eat everything she wants to eat before she goes in surgery because she can't eat solid food for a while. And so we went around eating whatever she wanted to eat. And the first thing on Jamie's list was pork belly. And so we went and we ate some pork belly and pork jowl, and it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, the Hanu here is really good too. Beef here is really good. But yeah, meat in Korea is just so good. Like I eat this meat and I'm like, dang, this cow had a good life. I feel like I had like a really loud era of Valorant where I got to showcase a lot of my abilities in Valorant to everyone. So like, not to toot my own horn, but like most people know in chat that I'm good at Valorant. Okay, I made such an ugly face. But anyway, most people know. So for me, it's kind of like another opportunity. Cool. But do I want other people to have that opportunity? Yes. So for me, it's kind of like I really don't mind not being in something because I don't know, other people get to shine. Most people, okay, not most people, but some people like to like watch themselves because you know some people come up with like really cool jokes, really funny moments. I'm allergic to myself. I hate looking at myself. I never watch watch myself. Anything that involves me, I like refuse to watch. Dude, I can't stand, I don't like looking in a mirror that much either. I've been looking, you know, this is my theory, not to digress, this is my theory. I think people who grew up avoidant of the mirror have grown to become pretty insecure about their looks. I'm extremely insecure about my looks. I grew up never looking at the mirror, ever. I never looked at the mirror growing up. But I think if you like really grew up looking at the mirror, you kind of get used to your own face. You get used to what you look like when you smile. You get used to what you look like when you do poses, whatever. You get like used to it. I never grew up looking at myself. I grew up staring at the computer and like playing games. I literally just played games. I looked at the monitor and the TV screen more than I ever looked in the mirror growing up. I didn't even like look at what I looked like. I'd wear the same like 4 t-shirts in elementary school and basketball shorts and go to school like that. And in middle school, it was pretty much the same thing. It was sweatpants and t-shirts. And then in high school, it was sweatpants and t-shirts. So I never really looked at myself and I never really looked at my face. I started getting into makeup a little bit in high school-ish, like 8th grade-ish. Even then, I didn't really do that good of a job. I got into like aesthetics more in college of my freshman year, where that was kind of when like I had backwards freshman 15 in college. I lost 15 pounds in college. I gained a lot of stress weight in high school and I lost it all in college. Not naturally, mind you. I worked out every day. Cut out juice in my life because I used to drink orange juice like water. Cut out juice and I like controlled my portions. Anyway, so I lost 15 pounds in college. And then I started getting more into like my looks then and like focusing on it. And like, you know, guys were kind of showing me interest too, which wasn't really a thing in high school for me. So they were like showing interest for me in like college and I was like, you're crazy because guys have never been interested in me for 18 years of my life. So why are they being interested in me now? So it's really weird. College was really weird. It was me getting used to that and like me starting to get into like looks and stuff. That was a weird experience. Where are we going with this? Oh, I'm really insecure about my looks. Yes, because I think my theory is because I just grew up never really looking at the mirror. And I also grew up never really being told that I was attractive. And so because of that, I just like grew up not really being into my looks or like aware of my looks or whatever. Sorry, I'm rambling. Have I been rejected before? Yeah, of course. What? I feel like, doesn't everyone go through something like that? Dude, when I tell people, I remember this one time I was talking to a guy and I thought we were mutually talking. And then he dropped me because he was talking to 2 girls and the girl he was more interested in returned his feelings. So he dropped me. And I was like, oh, that was like my first time experiencing like being ghosted. And I had no idea why. So I experienced that. And then I ended up talking to someone else about it. Like another guy about like that situation. And then we ended up talking a lot. And so I thought, oh, maybe like he understands me and I started developing feelings for him. And then he told me he didn't have feelings for me. And I was like, oh. I was like, I see. And then like after that, I just like stopped trying. I was like, okay, guys are just friends. Sorry, I spit on the monitor. I was like, after that, I was like, okay, guys are just friends. I need to keep them in mind. Even if you connect with a guy, that's like basic to them. They're doing that with another girl. See, you are not a candidate. And so I spent the rest of high school just being like, okay, I'm just friends with guys. And then I go to college and then like I met guys and they were like actually interested in me. And I was like, this is really weird. But yeah. And then I learned that guys can like me. It was just another page of like learning things. But yeah, mentality doesn't change in a day. So in the middle of quarantine, I was talking to someone and I was talking to Jamie. We had a power outage at our hotel. Only Jamie and I would experience a power outage at a hotel. Okay, we weren't together, by the way. They make you quarantine in separate rooms. So I was in my room. She was in her room alone. We didn't see each other for 2 weeks. We didn't see a single... Okay, we saw the quarantine people dressed head to toe in like these white hazmat beekeeper looking suit things. But anyway, our hotel had a power outage. She was sitting in anxiety because it's like kind of getting close to the evening where it gets dark and she doesn't like the dark. And I was just kind of laying in bed being like, wow, I have no Wi-Fi, I have no data, I am literally so disconnected from the world. And I just sat there staring at the ceiling. I realized our phones still work for some reason. And so I called Jamie's room and she picks up and she's like, oh, thank God. And then we just start talking. And she was like, oh my God, you saved me. I was getting so anxious. I was like, yeah, I'm freaking smart. And no, you just have to like pat yourself on the back for the little achievements in life, you know? So I was patting myself on the back for figuring out how to use the hotel phone. Anyway, I called her and we were talking. And we were talking about intensities, like matching someone's intensities. And I've always appreciated Jamie a lot in my life because she's been able to match my intensity about everything. So for example, if I'm like extremely sad about something, she's always been able to understand how sad I am and match that with like either equal like amount of like anger or like support or like whatever. She's always been able to match me emotionally, like at an emotional level. Yeah, it's like deep amounts of empathy, but the reason why I use like intensity is because like there are people who understand. Like for example, I can explain a situation to someone and they can understand it, but they don't truly like feel it from the inside, from like lack of experience. They've never gone through it themselves, so they don't understand like the intensity of the emotions that I'm feeling. So they're like, oh, I understand, but like I don't really like emotionally feel you, but I completely understand what you're saying. But Jamie's been always been able to match how intense I was feeling about anything. How happy something makes me, how sad something makes me, how angry something makes me. She's always been able to understand that. And I'm like, wow, that's like amazing, because like I think having a friend who matches you on that emotional level is actually like really important, because otherwise you just feel kind of like, am I the only one who feels this way? Or like, oh, is that really not that big of a deal? And you start to like, I don't know, dismiss your own feelings and the way you feel, and you start to like not legitimize or validate yourself because you've been brushed off so many times about the way you feel. You start to feel like, oh, I'm either too extreme or I'm either too much of whatever, too much of something. But that's not true. Like, I think everyone feels a certain way because they've gone through that situation in a specific way that makes them feel that level of like emotional intensity. So for example, like my hair thing. So I cried about my hair because I came out looking like a Furby, okay? But that's not the only reason. I cried about it because I cared about my hair that much. Jamie and Mindy were able to understand that because they've gone through like hair trauma themselves. So they were able to understand like how miserable I was feeling, and like they just like understood the levels of like upsetness I was feeling. Like I was upset because I paid for a service that basically destroyed my hair. I also paid for a service, like a lot of money that like I trusted to do well with my hair. There's like a lot of levels to it that I felt sad from, and they understood that. Whereas like when I brought it up to like my mom and my sister, their reaction was just like, okay, well, not my mom, but mostly my sister. She was like, hair is just hair. And I'm like, yes, it's true, but like you don't understand. And I realized she wouldn't understand unless she went through like hair problems, hair or traumatic hair problems herself. But I knew she understood me. She just didn't really understand like the intensity of how terrible I was feeling. And I like thought about it, and I've run into this situation before where I try to explain something I'm feeling to someone who's like more logical. They care, but they're like a lot more logical, so they don't really understand how I feel so much emotion about something. Well, not that they're emotionless, but I tend to be more emotion filled or care more about a lot of things emotionally. And like when I bring that up to like someone who's like more logical about a lot of things and not emotionally tied to everything, they care enough to want to understand, but they aren't able to match the intensity. And I realized a lot of it has to do with also like presenting like language. Okay, so like the way I like framed it in my head was like, okay, imagine that I found this like this Japanese poem, okay? Like this haiku or like whatever, just something literature, different language, a language that you don't know, but I happen to know the language. And I'm like, wow, this is so poetic. This is so impactful. Like, wow, this piece of literature or this poem in this different language is so wow, like it's so thought-provoking. And then imagine if I present that to someone who doesn't know that language. They're kind of like, oh, they take my word for it that it's phenomenal and it's like this is like really really great piece of literature, or this poem is powerful. But because they don't know the language, they don't really understand how each word like hit me a certain way that it doesn't hit them. And I realized that's kind of like what it is. Like if they've never taken the time to study that language, they're not going to get it. But that's not saying that these people, or like people who don't get it right away, are incapable. If they were well versed in the language, and if they came to match your level of like knowledge of that language, they'd be able to respond to you in like a proper way, because they too now understand like the details and the depths that you understand this subject matter. But it's just that they have to study it themselves, but they've never tried studying it. And you can't force something that someone's never studied onto someone and expect them to get it, because they won't. They just won't. That's not how it works. They have to learn too. And then once they learn, they'll understand it. But yeah, that was like my whole analogy with like understanding things on like an emotional level or intensity, something like that. Everyone's so concerned for me because I haven't drank water, but this is really normal for me. I like never drink water, which is really bad. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but like I can go like 8 hours without drinking water. It's really bad. Maybe I have to get my body used to drinking a lot of water. But the way I think of it is, if I were to ever come to a moment in time where my ability to go long periods of time without drinking water proves to be an advantage, I'm gonna miss that ability. Like what about like I don't know, an apocalyptic setting, or like if I'm in a desert and there's just like not water readily available. Do I really want to lose that survival trait that I have? I have like a passive that just allows me to not need water all the time. But yeah, good night everyone. I'll see you guys again when I can. Good night.